Open your Bibles to Ephesians chapter 6. Verse 18. Verse 18 reads, praying always with all prayer and supplication. Now, we have looked at praying always with all prayer. Tonight, I want to look at and supplication. And then I'll give you an expanded version of this verse up to this point that you can write down. Now we get there by digging into the original language it was written in and exploring all its meanings to try to get in Paul's mind and what he was trying to communicate through the Holy Spirit. Praying always with all prayer and supplication. Now, some people think in this study of Ephesians 6:18 that I was going to lay out some prayers that you can say. That's not what this study is about. This study is not about giving you a formula prayer. This study is to expand your knowledge in the kind of prayer Paul's referring to. And we'll go to other scriptures also, by the way. To develop principles and reasons why you would pray that we find in the scriptures as instruction. Not only to how to pray, but when to pray, where to pray, and what to pray for. Now, we already covered part of this verse, and you've written down, pray with all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use, praying at every opportunity, no matter what you are doing, no matter where you are, seize that time to pray. That from praying always with all prayer. Those first 5 words, I repeat, when you analyze the Greek and all the rich meaning behind the words that Paul used, and I repeat, and you've written this down, and they'll put it up at the end of this message when I get to it. Pray with all kinds of prayer that are available for you to use. Praying at every opportunity, no matter what you are doing, no matter where you are, seize that time to pray. Now we're going to add to it, because tonight we're going to look at supplication. Now, Paul uses a word that we find here in the New Testament for supplication, and that's thesis. You could put that first one up on the screen. That first definition. Supplication, in the Greek right after it, thesis. We find that word used more than 40 times in the New Testament. It comes in various forms, and usually it's translated prayer or petition more than 40 times in the New Testament. Paul uses this word here in this verse in Ephesians 6:18 when he says, praying always with all prayer and supplication. Supplication in this verse, I repeat, is thesis, which has been translated to supplication. It's taken from a verb, theomai, there on the screen. And the definition of what it describes means a need or want. A need or want. What Paul has done here, he paints a picture of a person with some kind of need. It could be even a desire that they have in their life, or even in someone else's life. But most of the time it's a personal prayer, or kind of prayer. Now, with everything else, as time passes, the word took on the meaning of prayer. The type of prayer that expresses someone's basic needs, someone wants or desires to God. This word also carries the meaning, and it has to do a lot with someone's basic needs, their very basic needs. Not so much desires for tangible things, such as a big old fancy car, or a big old expensive house, or desires to wear a $25,000 diamond ring on your finger. No. This word thesis has to do with your basic needs. Needs that you need to be met. There has to be met, in order for you to continue in your existence. You got it? In other words, thesis, or desis, not thesis, desis, it's a petition. If you want to put a label on it, it's a prayer of petition. A cry for the Lord's help. A person that knows that they have insufficiencies because they cannot meet their needs, their very basic needs, on their own. It's a petition or a cry out for help to meet your very basic needs because you somehow insufficiently cannot provide what you need. Now, we even see Jesus use this word. Go to Hebrews chapter 5. Verse 7. Who in the days of his flesh, now this is referring to Jesus, who in the days of his flesh, when he had ordered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. Jesus uses this word when he offered up prayers and supplications And it says here in this verse, with strong crying and tears, unto him, his Father, that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. Once again, the word that's used here for prayers in this verse is taken from the word thesis. What does this tell us in this verse? That even Jesus was very aware of his potential weakness. Well, I never heard that Jesus had any weakness. No. But the potential was there. He was very aware of his potential weakness of his humanity. He recognized his need. But he also recognized his Father's ability to provide the necessary strength for him and what he was going to go through for us. And what did Jesus do? He prayed with all his heart and with all his soul, asking God the Father to provide that divine assistance that he would need in his humanity. Jesus was well aware of his own need. So he prayed, he thesis with strong crying and tears. You know, there's been Christian fads along the way, trying to start a strong and crying tears prayer movement, trying to convince people it's a new method, the way you should pray, trying to establish formula prayers once again, trying to establish and make this part of a doctrine to others. This verse in Ephesians 6:18 is not, or even Hebrews 5:7 is not providing a new formula or program for prayer. This was Jesus crying out, laying out his soul, exposing his heart to the Father, crying out in petition for God the Father to empower him so that his most basic need at that time would be met. And that is strength and power to go through what he was about to go through, and which he did go through. Because once again, God the Father provided. Go to James chapter 5. Verse 17. Let's read the verse. Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it may not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. We find the word thesis again here in James 5:17. It says Elijah is Elijah, was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly. Now the two words there, prayed earnestly, is also taken from the word thesis. Now nobody questions Elijah being a hero of faith. A hero of faith. A strong and great mighty man of God. No one questions that. But even Elijah recognized his own inability to do anything sufficient for God. And out of his deep sense of need, he prayed. He desisted, asking God to intervene on his behalf. You find these type of prayers throughout the scriptures of someone who's very well aware of their needs, their great needs in life. The word desis always carries the meaning. It portrays a cry for help. When you study the scriptures of the different characters that prayed with desis in their mindset. These are people that prayed with that type of prayer when they're appealing to God. By the way, always from the position of humility, when they ask God to grant their special petition. It could be for strength to resist temptation, or to be empowered and strengthened and sustained in any crisis that comes along, not only their way, but in our way also. This word, put it up on the screen again. This word, desis, paints the picture of an individual who believes in God, who has faith in God, but also recognizes their dependence upon God and their inability to meet their own need. Why? Because they learned to rely completely on God's ability to meet their need. And your need could be emotional, financial, spiritual, whatever. If we're going to learn from the characters that we read from the scriptures and what they went through and how they went through it, it always comes out when you study the scriptures that these people prayed earnestly and sincerely, seeking God from the depths of their innards, their spirit and soul, with humility, asking God graciously, you come back to me, to move on their behalf. This intense type of prayer comes from one's awareness of his own human insufficiencies. this prayer of petition, this cry out for help, is a prayer that exposes a person's insufficiencies. But it also exposes the continual need and communication to God and from God. You'll see other examples. Let's just go quickly and just read the verses. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 4. If you can't go quickly with me, just write them down. Praying us with much entreaty that we will receive the gift and take upon us the fellowship of ministering to the saints. There's one example. Go to 1 Thessalonians. Another example, not one, but there's many. 1 Thessalonians chapter 3. Verse 10. Night and day praying exceedingly that we might see your face and might perfect that which is lacking in your faith. This is a type of petition or a cry out for help, for God to intervene to allow them to be present. In that last verse, in their face, for the purpose of increasing their faith. So a cry for help could be for your own personal insufficiencies, but it could also be a prayer that's extended to others and what they might need. And of course, always recognizing our dependence upon God, because we also recognize our inability to meet our needs without Him. You might think you can, but I'm telling you here tonight, I got news for you. It's better to lean on God, cry out for help, petition, express your needs. It's okay, even your wants. With all kinds of prayers that are available to you to use. Now I want them to put up the next slide there. Now this, we're going to add on to what we already written down. Hopefully you've done that. I'll read you the verse that we have looked at so far, or at least a part of the verse that we've looked at so far. And then when you look into all the rich meanings of these words that Paul used, it has a deeper meaning concerning prayer. Ephesians 6:18, praying always with all prayer and supplication. That's how far we have gotten. Praying always with all prayer and supplication means exactly what you see there on the screen when you break it all down. And what does it say on the screen? Pray with all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use. Praying at, by the way, let me just stop right there. Praying with all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use. Think about it. Why wouldn't you use all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use? Look at all the different pieces of the armor that we have here that's listed between Ephesians 6, verse 14, 15, 16, and 17. You have the loins girded about with truth, and having the breastplate of righteousness, your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, the shield of faith that will quench the fiery darts of the wicked, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit. That's not just one piece of weaponry there on the armor, is there? Is it? It's multiple pieces. When we get to verse 6:18, it says, pray with all kinds. The multiple concept. Once again, pray with all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use. Praying at every opportunity. I was thinking about that today. Again. Ever since I started this ministry, over 16 years ago, that has really brought into my life a whole different meaning. Because prayer requests come in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And more of them are coming in. Praying at every opportunity might be something that you might find it hard to do because you only have so many desires and so many needs. But that has a whole different, you have a whole different perspective if you know there's others out there with with needs and wants that you can pray for. And that will get into intercession prayer, which I'll get to also, by the way. I find myself, and I don't say this to boast or to brag, God knows my heart, I have to pray all day long at every opportunity because the prayer requests come in. Either I ignore them, which I don't, or I pray for them, which I do. So your needs and wants has given me the opportunity to keep more connected with the Father. And for that I rejoice. I don't look at it as a burden. I look at it, wow, there's more communication going on with Jesus and God the Father than I ever had in my life prior to the last 16 years. You could be part of that. Very few people actually allow the prayer request to go public, but when they do allow it, it goes up on the pastor's blog. That's why I say you should be checking that daily, several times a day, to see anything new comes in. To be part of the family of God that's concerned not just for yourself, but for the brethren that are out there also with needs and wants. So let's start again. Pray with all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use. Praying at every opportunity, no matter what you are doing, no matter where you are. If you don't like to pray in public, which I don't necessarily blame you, I don't like to pray in public either, like if I'm walking down the street. And these days it really doesn't matter because people think you're on a cell phone. But the thing is, go in private. Excuse yourself to the bathroom. Do what you got to do. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, seize that time to pray. Now we're going to add to it with all heartfelt petition. And with all heartfelt petition is what we covered tonight. So I'll read it one more time for those of you that can't see a screen. Pray with all kinds of prayers that are available for you to use. Praying at every opportunity, no matter what you are doing, no matter where you are, seize that time to pray with all heartfelt petition. That's what Jesus did. There's evidence of that throughout the gospel records. Prayer cannot be ignored, my friend. It should become part of your everyday life, just like eating and drinking. And do it with all heartfelt petition. You got it? If you do, I want to hear from you.